Hi, this is Ms. Bahawk. Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast, where you can get fresh ideas for your training, nutrition, and lifestyle to immediately put to use. Listen in with Marcus Philly, the creator of functional bodybuilding, and myself.
Hi, I'm Marcus Philly. We're broadcasting from Revival Strength in San Rafael, California.
We'll be talking about avoiding burnout, keeping your passion alive for training, and fueling your body and mind so you can look good, move well now, and for years to come. When you physically lose your strength, what lessons from your training will you share with others? And how does struggling with weights affect other parts of your life? Come back to the weight room and look through the lens of how consistency and focus can change your outlook on life, and what happens when you explore the limits of what you're capable of. All right. How do you want to start this one?
Well, I think that we want to have a conversation about how fitness, like where do the training results stop physically, and then where do the training results like begin in other aspects of your life, and how do they carry over to things that will stay with you forever, and that maybe you might even pass down to other generations or teach to other people. So what are the, and by training results, it's like not just like how much can you bench, but like what lessons did you learn from going through a bench press cycle? What lessons did you learn from facing the fear of a competition, or of rowing a 2K for time, or doing a 10-minute assault bike test, or, how did those lessons impact you as a person, or me, or anybody, and what gets taken from that and applied to, other aspects of life, and then, how might you want to share that with other people, and what are you inspired to share with other people as a result of all that training?
This makes me think of The Rock.
Yeah.
Follow The Rock.
Oh my God, yeah.
He just did a talk for like the LA the Lakers, and I think he put out like part 1 of his YouTube video or whatever the other day, and I checked it out, and he touched on this concept of like, if you were once an athlete in your life, or maybe even if you're not, we all end up in the same place at the end of the day, and it's the weight room. It's like always coming back to the weight room, and that serves as kind of a metaphor. For him personally, it seems like it serves as a metaphor for like all of the other hard work that he puts in into making movies, into his business ventures and everything. It's like that is where it begins, and he placed a really, really high importance on that, kind of like you are. It makes me think like, because when we watch from the outside, you're a pretty disciplined, committed, and like persistent person, like in whatever it is you kind of take on, right? Whether it's something related to growing your business within Revival Strength, supporting other coaches, your own training. It's like there's this, this observable consistency and discipline that goes into that. And you've been involved in fitness for a very long time too, personally. Did some of that, come from you doing that at an early age, and you getting into the weight room, and is that something that's contributed to just the habits that you now have in other parts of your life?
Yeah, I mean, without question, for sure. I can't recall a period of time in my life that was where I was able to like bring energy and discipline to other aspects without having a foundation in like training or sport or something that was physical. And I think that's also where I've like gained some of the biggest, it's where I've gained all of my biggest life lessons, is through, training and the discipline and the focus that it takes to do it consistently for years and years and years, and whatever sacrifices that meant I had to make, or relationship compromises, or the relationships that I've built as a result of it. It's been a central point for me for sure. And I think that it's probably why, probably something a lot of people that are listening resonate to, if they're listening to the Look Good, Move Well podcast. Like, movement training, is probably a big part of what they do on a regular basis, or they want it to be. They aspire to be consistent in their training and do more on a regular basis to get the benefits from, what we've experienced for many years. But certainly it's been like my longest lasting form of, meditation, really, like coming back. And I think I really resonate with what The Rock said. It's like, you're going to go do all these things, but what's going to ground you and bring you back to just like, this physical body that we're in and what we have in front of us to like, work with, and it's movement and it's training.
I think of like what you're kind of implying here is training, for a lot of the listeners already, and for yourself as well, is such a huge piece. When we look at your day and all the time that you're investing in all these other areas, like training is a chunk of that, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's like, why not take it a step further and search for the depth and the meaning in that? Because surely for a lot of us, it goes beyond just the look good, move well, right? Like that might stand for something more for a lot of people. Yep. So coming back to like what you just said initially in the beginning here is like, where does that trajectory kind of stop or start physically in terms of physical gains, right? And then where does it start to translate into the other aspects of your life? Mm-hmm. Could you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, well, I first want to actually make a point to say that, it's not just about movement. And I love what our, our podcast title and our, hashtag, our saying is with functional bodybuilding: look good, move well. But a lot of the, looking good and moving well, like improving these aspects of who we are as people through training, comes through like hard work, like for movement to transcend just like the physical results and to like move into other lessons about life and how you might carry yourself differently, or approach obstacles that you face differently because of your training experience. And you might teach your kids a different lesson because of what you experienced in the gym. Like for somebody who just like kind of goes through the motions, they think that's a crazy thought. They're like, dude, like I go to the gym, it doesn't affect my life. It's like, okay, I'm pretty sure you're not working hard enough. Like that, I could kind of say that, it's like, but it's through the struggle in, physical struggle, pushing yourself and looking at where your limits are, exploring what those ends of, what you're capable of look like, where people can, I believe, understand more depth about who they are as people, establish deeper lessons that then they carry into, the rest of their life. And so, I love getting a good pump and doing some bench press, but like when I'm pushing myself to try and improve something, to grow the size of my chest through like repeated training, hard upper body pushing training sessions, and, then dieting on top of that, and then, coming back to the gym or trying to like compete in CrossFit and, push myself to like the limits of my ability to try and perform in a sport that's like, that is where the lessons and it's the struggle at that end range of, capacity and ability that can bring forth that. And that doesn't necessarily, and I should also say that like being, working physically hard is one way in the gym, but also working like mentally hard and emotionally hard, where you're being really consistent. Like you've been consistent for 500 days, And for you, that is like a huge stretch. You've been consistent for 10 days, 30 days, 60, whatever. Like you can push yourself with movement that way, where I never missed a day for a whole year. I hit all, even the days that I was feeling kind of down, and like that can teach you valuable lessons. And so it's just a qualifier kind of statement to say, like, there is stuff to learn outside of, just the physical gains that you get in the gym. Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of people would agree with that. And that's, I think, what we're talking about today is like, what is the legacy that fitness has on you as an individual, that when you stop improving physically and you actually start to decline and your strength goes down, you're not hitting PRs anymore, whether that's in your 40s or your 50s or whatever, like what do you get to carry with you? Right? Because like, on my deathbed, I'm not going to be cleaning 350 pounds. That's probably not likely. But all that time spent in the gym working on this, like, it brought something to my life, and it brings something consistently and continually to my life that I want to share with other people, and it impacts how I enjoy and experience what's in front of me.
I mean, there's something really powerful to that idea of consistency. And if this is this one piece that has maybe stayed constant, throughout your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all up until that moment where, your investment is no longer just in the numbers. It's like, it's gone beyond that. And it's more like this ritual or physical practice that you kind of, put yourself into and pour yourself into. Like that I know for me, when I think about it, it's like, as you were talking about that, writing is one of those areas. It's like, it makes me think, I've written every single day for this amount of time for, this stretch. If I can do that, then how, I can do this, right?
Yeah.
It like gives you there's this game that you can play in your head where it drives you to pursue other areas and avenues, depending on whatever, that might call for in that phase of your life. I don't know, what was the first moment you had where you kind of realized this, like, this is something a little bigger than just me getting my chest pump on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably around the first time I really dedicated to a training / nutrition plan. That stands out, and I'll talk about that. But also, and then one other time was when I was in college, and we hired a strength and conditioning coach, kind of contracted outside of the university. We brought in a guy to like put our team through like a off-season training program, and it was like brutal. I mean, it was the hardest thing I had ever done, and given how bad a shape I was in when he came in, like, that's always the worst, is like when you're starting from like 0 and they try and ramp you up to 100, like in the first day to see who's going to cry, basically. Like that's how it felt. And so I will always look back on that as like maybe the hardest thing I ever did, because even though I did other stuff competitively in CrossFit, like I was training for it. Right. Whereas that, I was just like running. I remember running 400s and him being like, if you don't finish in this amount of time, you got to run another one. And I'm just like running. I'm like, I'm never going to finish in time. I totally want to quit. This guy's evil, and throwing up. Yeah. But yeah, I think when I went through that experience and, just saw how much confidence came out of finishing something, like, because I didn't quit. I wanted to really badly, I didn't. I don't know what kept me going. I mean, like, a logical person, but like, this is really not as healthy. I was like, why am I putting myself through this to be the third string goalkeeper on this team right now? Like, whatever, right? But I didn't quit. And then the other experience was like, oh wow, because extreme body composition transformations require tremendous commitment and consistency. Like you can't just accidentally slide your way into, sub 10% body fat. Like it doesn't typically happen that way for people, so had to go through that experience where it was like really, really structured, really consistent, super diligent about that for a period of time. And like oh my gosh, look what happens when you actually pay attention to the details for a long period of time, and you do the same thing over and over and over again. And it's like having the discipline to do something the same way, whether it's exciting or not. It's like, well, I'm not actually here for excitement on the day-to-day. I'm here to experience something 3 months from now that is going to feel super exciting, and I'm getting glimpses of it along the way. That's a big one for me. And to be honest, that probably set a tone for like many, many years to come for me. It's where the honesty, commitment, persistence, that's the commitment portion of it, really like stuck hard, was after that experience in college. And it was to see like, holy smokes, like, just kind of floating through life, not knowing what I'm doing every day, to like creating a plan and doing the same thing every day. I saw myself doing it as a student and like having a structured plan on how I was going to study, and I was having success there. But it didn't resonate as much as when I did it physically with my body. And I think that's why I was such a huge fan of bodybuilding as a sport, was because I saw the dedication, the consistency that needed to go into being successful on the stage, to have great physique. It was just like rinse, repeat, same every day. Do it, not sexy, not flashy, until boom, you're on stage and you're ripped and shredded, and the whole plan comes together. And at the time there wasn't CrossFit to watch and to like be excited about. It was just, that was the physical sport, the gym sport that had the most dedication, consistency required to be successful. So yeah, those certainly stand out in my mind.
It's like this sense of when you go through that type of a transformation with your body, it's like this sense of control, right? Like, oh, I have control over the effort, the sensation of effort, and me being able to come in and day out and put that in. That feels pretty good. Like for people who go through whatever that period is, whether they prepare for a bodybuilding show or it's just like a 3-month cycle or whatever, it's like you come out the other end, and if you were super compliant, there's something, I know for me in my brain, it's like, wow, like I did that. Like I feel really accomplished from just being able to know that I put in that effort, despite like what you said. It's like not the sexy stuff, not the flashy stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when we look at something like bodybuilding, it's like, whoa, there's to compete in bodybuilding and to prepare for a show, there's so many details that it's like, you think about it, it's like, oh, well, when your friends are going out and, they're going to go to this restaurant to eat, it's like, people who are preparing for shows who come to the restaurant with their meals prep, right? Yeah. Or really have to plan in advance. Like these skills that definitely you can zoom out and see how it applies into other areas.
Yeah, totally. I mean, something else as you were talking that kind of got me thinking was this notion that like, most big, it's not like life is like in much the same way. It's, we don't run into huge like aha, mind altering, life lesson moments that frequently. And in fact, like we're learning a lot every single day, like in small little ways. And for me, with consistency and doing something, repeatable over and over and over again, it allows those like small variances in life, that if you were just like kind of all over the place and you led a very chaotic life, you might not even notice. But when there is consistency, those small things start to stand out, and you can actually perceive them and learn from them and build lessons. So, for the listener, it's like, get on a 3-month training program and stick to it. Like, do it all. Don't mess with it. Don't add to it. Don't create more chaos. Create a plan and stick to it. And I promise you, at the end of it, there will be physical gains and you will make some physical progress, but you'll also learn something else about yourself that you wouldn't have been able to had you done the bouncing around and doing a million different things. And that's where I think training and the discipline of coming in and doing it over and over and over again, like, breeds that ability to learn, to grow, and then to like shape who you are. Coming back to that statement that The Rock made, it's like, we all come back to this thing because a foundation of something in sport, and that's the physical, the gym experience. Like, that is what allows us to be grounded and to be able to see like what's happening around us and learn from it.
Yeah, it's he also mentioned that one. It's like, this is where we all started. Mm-hmm. It was the weight room, like in a conventional gym, just doing what we knew, following whatever out of magazines. And it's like, this is where we come back to. Like, this is the one thing that stayed constant this whole time. Is there anything else on this topic that you want to leave people with?
No, I wasn't sure where we were going to land with it, but I think that people listening have experienced things through training, most likely, that they take into other aspects of their life. And I think it's cool to kind of just talk about, well, where does that start? How can you develop, create space for you to actually learn lessons about life through training? What is the variable? And I think we hit on this idea around consistency. It's like consistency is going to breed, lessons and altering experiences that can then become, part of your legacy as a person in your life and go far beyond when the squat PRs stop.
I love that. Well, any questions that this episode or this topic raises for you, head over to speakpipe.com/lookgoodmovewell and leave us a voice message. And we'll try to play it on the show and answer your questions and try to engage the best we can.
For sure. Keep them coming.
Thanks for listening, guys. Sweet.